Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandathami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rutra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidusura suraganaha Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha. So let's do 5 verses, starting with verse number 11 of the 4th chapter. So, ye yatha mam prapadyante, starting with that. So you can just follow after me. Ye yatha mam prapadyante, ye yatha mam prapadyante, tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. Tathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmananuvartante mama vartmanuvartante manushya partha sarvashaha sarvashaha kangshaktah karmanam siddhim kangshaktah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha Yajanta iha devataha Kshipram himanushe loke Kshipram himanushe loke Siddhir bhavati karmaja Chatur varnyam maya shrishtam Chatur varnyam maya shrishtam Gunakarma vibhagashaha Gunakarma vibhagashaha Tasya kartaramapi tasya kartaramapi mam kartaramapi mam tasya kartaramapi mam vidya akartaramavyayam vidya kartaramavyayam namam karmani limpanti namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriha Name karma phale spri iti mam yo bhijanati iti mam yo bhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate karma bhirna sabadhyate evam gyatva kritam karma evam gyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi Kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvataram kritam. Okay. So a couple of things. One is sorry about the sound because we have not been able to fix this amplifier. So hopefully you can still hear me. One thing which I was mentioning to the previous class, and I would like you also to, for those of you that were not there, I think you should get into the habit of reviewing the previous class before you come to any class, and your own notes, or at least your thoughts, if you don't take notes, I think that will be very, very useful for you to do. So that's number two. Then the other thing I'm almost very firm on doing is that I find a number of you really need a course on the basics of Vedanta, and then in not just the simple, just the ABCs of it, but some good commentary on the basics of Vedanta. And the more I read the first chapter of the Panchadashi from Swami Maheshanandji, and more I find this is a beautiful, it has about 65 verses, and gives a very good introduction to the basics of Vedanta. So what I'm planning to do is to finish chapter 4, which has, that's what I was just looking at, I think it's about 40 plus ones. Then we will take a break from the Bhagavad Gita. Only a break, because I want to continue this we want to finish the whole thing. So we'll take a break and do the Panchadashi first chapter. I think that will be good. So, and I think some of the people from the previous class, or perhaps some new people, can also join. So I don't know when that will happen. I would imagine probably another couple of months would be my best guess as to when we would do that. But I really would encourage each one of you to attend that, because it is, every time I also review the basics of Vedanta, I learn a lot every time. And so I urge you to also continue with that as well. So anyway, that's the second thing I wanted to mention.
Does that build on top of Tattva Bodha?
It will build on top of the Tattva Bodha. It will be a more advanced form of Tattva Bodha. What I will do, that's a good point, I will keep the Tattva Bodha as a side text with it, so that I'll point out some of the structures of both of them. And so I think we have texts available for Tattva Bodha also. We'll give you the text for...
Have it,
yeah, you should have it, and if you don't, then...
A few years ago you taught Tattva Bodha.
We taught Tattva Bodha here also. So this time we won't just do Tattva Bodha, this will be an advanced version of that. Very beautiful. I really like Swami Vidyaranya's thinking of how he structures the presentation of the material. Just love it. Beautiful. Get so much out of it. Swami Vidyaranya and his teacher Swami Shankarananda. Shankarananda is highly regarded. Swami Shankarananda's commentary in the Bhagavad Gita was the favorite of Swami Dayananda Saraswati. He liked it even more than Adi Shankara. And Swami Shankarananda has not written a lot of books, but the 3 or 4 books that he has written, I have read already. And the more I see, and so Swami Shankarananda was the guru of Swami Vidyaranya, and the more I see Swami Vidyaranya's approach to how to look at the material, I just get a lot out of it. Really wonderful. So I will present that to the first chapter of which gives the what is called Tattva Viveka Prakaranam, and you'll enjoy that. I think you'll see a lot out of it. So so that was that. So if you recall, that in the 10th verse, well, first of all, the structure of the Bhagavad Gita, you should see by now, was that the first chapter was the building up of the context for the teaching, The second chapter was kind of like a review of the whole thing. And in fact, the second and the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita are both a review. The second chapter is more of a presentation, and the 18th chapter is a review of the whole aspect of it. And then the aspects there were given was that you should see that if moksha is of the type of praptasya praptihi, then the method of approaching is entirely different, very different from apraptasya praptihi. So you remember the example I think I gave you in this class, that there was, if you were to buy a home, was it in this class? Did I give you this?
Yes, it was.
Huh?
Yes.
Okay, so because I'm sorry, I sometimes I don't remember which of the three classes I talked to. So there, just a very brief review. There, one example is that you don't own a home, and you want to own a home. So there are some actions required for you to own a home, which means that you must have enough cash in your possession or some assets and so on and so forth. You shouldn't have any bad credit, all kinds of things if you want to get this. Then you have to look for a locality where you have to see whether your children need school, all kinds of things. You know all of that. So this is what's called actions to buy a home which you don't own. Contrasted to that is a home that was perhaps given to you by your parents who may have passed away. And they gave to, this home was given to you. And you also know it. It's not as though it is a surprise to you, but you also know it. But to take possession of that home requires some actions on your part, particularly if there is a long-time renter there who doesn't want to move out, and he gives all kinds of, it happens in India all the time, here also, but in India it happens all the time. Possession is 9/10 of the law. They will try all kinds of things to, my parents, my father was a mining engineer in Bihar, and he was a very careful saver of money. He would really save a lot of money and so on. So he had brought some property, I don't know, 2 or 3 acres somewhere in Bihar, and kept it there for the time that it may, escalate in value and so on. Didn't build anything and didn't want to build anything. It was just a land transaction. And he went there after 5 or 10 years that there was a kind of like a small house on it already. And he said, what the heck? Where'd this come from? And he found out this guy was saying, this is my house, this is my property. How are you going to prove it? So he had to go through so much rigmarole to turn that guy out. So the second thing is that you have a house that you own, but to get the people out of there and to take complete possession and to live there, perhaps you have to paint it, you have to get it done and so on and so forth, requires some actions. But it is a house that you already own, but you don't yet enjoy. The understanding of a complete sense of freedom, which is called moksha. None of the things in your life will possibly bother you. Complete freedom, a joyful existence, is of the second kind, not the first kind. And the problem is that not knowing that, we think it is the first kind. when in fact you already have it, but yes, you have to vacate some people. And you have to polish it up, you have to get it painted. Yes, there are some actions required. And the person, this is an amazing thing. The person you have to vacate is yourself as a Jivatma. It's the most difficult one. There it's easy, you can beat somebody up and say, get out of here. What are you going to do to yourself? How can you beat yourself up? But here, a careful analysis of what's keeping me from enjoying Paramatma means I should have the wisdom and the courage to give up my smallness. But I don't want to give up my smallness because I'm not sure that I will even have the bigness. At least I am enjoying some smallness. Let me keep it there. It's just exactly like saying that if I'm the room space, I know I want to get bigger, but I can't just completely give it up. No. Let me keep my room spaceness. So therefore, this is what is called praptasya prapti. So this was explained in the second chapter by Sri Krishna. He says, listen, Arjuna, please see that the gain of your life is of the type of already gained but not appreciated. And in order to appreciate it, in order to do the karmas, to claim something which is already accomplished, you have to do some things. So the value of the karma is not negated, but the whole thing has to be completely turned around. You should do that karma with a smile. Hey, this house is yours. There's nothing else you have to do. And just be resolute and just fight this off. You cannot be very serious with him also. If the guy says, no, you cannot do this, you just smile at him and say, I'll get you one of these days. Your days are numbered. You might as well make it easy for yourself. Just leave. I know this is mine. Pretty soon, if the fellow understands how serious you are, that you've got all the papers to prove, his resistance would melt. Not any different, really speaking. The problem we have is that my Jivatma, which is also called Ahankara, which is me, I don't want to disturb that. I want everybody else to just behave, but I am there. And so Sri Krishna says, no, it's not the real you. That also is nothing but just an imagination on your part. Just like, for example, in the dream character that you have, that you are, not have, the dream character that you are, along with all the other characters that you deal with, is also false. You cannot say that the dream character, I want to be that reality, and everybody else should just fall in line with me. It's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen until an assurance is given to you that there is something bigger waiting for you. Then you possibly can begin to give up. And so you should see, so this is one of the things I think we'll do in the first chapter of the Panchadashi also, that Ishvara Srishti, the entire creation of Ishvara, has kind of like two parts to it. So one is the Srishti that is outside of me, supposedly outside of me, like the tables and people, situations, food. This is the outside of me. So I find that this is outside of me. And so this is what is called Bhautika Srishti. Just a couple of minutes of that. So Bhautika Srishti means that the 5 fundamental elements from which the entire creation is made, which is called Pancha Mahabhuta, Akasha, Vayu, and then Agni, then water and earth. So these are the basic 5 elements of the creation. And then the combination of those create all the other things in my life. So for example, some things are like, for example, take a body. The body has some space, it has Vayu, it has all 5 of them. Some things have 4 of them, some things have 3 of them. So like that, there's combination. So this much I can tell. What I cannot tell is that the subtle creation means thoughts are also bhautikam. They are also made out of bhutas, pancha mahabhutas. So I don't inquire into it, in the feeling that I just look at things outside and I don't see that my thoughts and my pranas and all of the elements of the body, etc., those are me. Those are me. I don't want to really, I don't want to analyze those. I want to analyze things around me so that I can manipulate them for my happiness. This is the problem we have. When in fact, even my subtle, even the experiencer, outside world is experienced, but the experiencer is also false. False in the sense that it just comes and goes. That's not me. So even the experiencer also has to be analyzed. And when I do that, I find that it is just fooling me. So this is the very famous statement in Vedanta which says, Avicharita siddham dvaitam. Avicharita siddham dvaitam, meaning that the sense of duality, the sense of being captive to the world is all due to non-enquiry. Avicharita. Vicharam na sahate. It is just an imagination on my part that I am just a small person. You're not a small person. You're not somebody who needs to buy this home. You need to gain possession of the thing that you already have. So this was the basic message given in the 2nd chapter. Then in the 3rd chapter, so in the 2nd chapter it also says that how to claim your sense of freedom. What is the work? So you can say that, that I've been looking at this home as something that doesn't belong to me, and I've been probably, my actions have been wasted. what else do I need to do to claim this home? So yes, you do need to do some things, no doubt about it. It is actually yours today, but there are some impediments, some obstacles. So the obstacles are very different. The understanding of obstacles is a very important thing. This is what is called pratibandhaka. Pratibandhakas are very different than the basic problem itself. The best example of that is cataract. So cataract is a pratibandhaka. You don't see very well. It's very hazy. But there is nothing wrong with your eyes. You have a film that has come on top of that can be removed. And if you do that, then your vision becomes okay. As opposed to the fact that if you have some degeneration in the eye, it is not an obstacle. It is a problem. Your whole thing itself is defective. So also, the claiming of myself as a person, as a free person, has a pratibandhaka. It's not a problem, because if it's a problem, it is insolvable. Happily, it's not a problem of that type, but we do recognize that you don't see yourself as a free person. Sure, we all came from there. We're all slowly getting to that point. And the slowly getting to the point means that I have to work on the pratibandhakas, the obstacles. So similarly, going back to the example of owning your own home, then you have to, you can tell your friend and caretaker that why I want to move into that home. So he says, not so fast. He says, why? Why do you mean no? This fellow is claiming that he's been there for a long time and he thinks that there's no papers available. So how do we do that? He says, don't worry, we'll get it done, but courts move a little slowly. You're not going to be able to move it that quickly. It might take 4 or 5 months and so on. It'll get done. Okay, let's do it. Then you find that there's some other people that have a hutment on it. Yeah, I don't know, I'm just talking about some obstacles. So the obstacles can be removed, but it is yours. Good, beautiful example. I love this example that was given. So the third chapter was devoted to removing the obstacles. Karma Yoga is removing the obstacles so that your understanding of who you are becomes very clear. And we spent a lot of time on it, and so on and so forth. Now, it is said, so there are two things that are said. One is called sadhya, and one is called sadhana. Sadhya means what is to be achieved. The thing that needs to be achieved is called sadhya, and how to achieve is called sadhana. Obstacle removal is sadhana. Karma Yoga is sadhana. But what happens is that in the process of sadhana, you can lose sight of the sadhya. I'm just making this up, but I can see in the case of this person who has this house that he wants to occupy, he gets so involved in this legal thing that he gets tired. And his lawyer friend who's helping him says, please, don't you know this property, what a beautiful property it is? You know how much it would cost if you were to buy it? And your mother has given it to you? Let's go take a look at it one more time. Okay? I just want to remind you. So he drives him there. And he makes him appreciate the property. This renter is not allowing him to come in, so he has to go it from outside and so on and so forth. In posh location of New Delhi, and it's 1 acre lot, and all those kinds of things. So this re-examination of the sadhya invigorates him. He says, yes, I'm sorry that I gave you a hard time. This is worth doing. Let's do it. Let's do it. So here in the 4th chapter, other than some side tracks that we did, remember the side tracks that we did one was the sampradaya, that there's a value in understanding something which has been there for a long time. And the second one was the avatara. Remember we did that, the avatara. The avatara is also a very interesting thing because one of the elements of the sadhya and the sadhana both is a firm understanding that this world is being managed by Ishvara. It's not an easy thing to do. Swami Dayanand used to say that, I still remember it so well. He said, this is what happens. When the children grow up, they have an instinctive trust in people. You'll see this. You have a small child who's 2 years old, just talking, just walking and so on and so forth. When he sees a stranger, he will offer him his lollipop. And if a stranger offers him a lollipop, he will take it. Pretty soon. So he's a basic trust of everybody. He doesn't know who's a stranger, who's not. He can't distinguish. He's just people. Somebody gives him a lollipop, he'll exchange it with him. Pretty soon the mother and father will say, hey, don't do that. You don't know this guy. He says, what do you mean I don't know this guy? He says, see, is this part of is your home? He says, no. So he's somebody outside. You don't know him. So he says, so what? So he has to explain, do not trust anyone. The other thing that happened to me was very funny. I was, like a couple of months ago, I was in the gym doing exercising. And once I was doing that, so one of the gym instructors brought his 4-year-old, I think, he was around 4-year-old boy to hang around there for a while. Cute little boy, and he was doing some exercises and so on. So I walked up to him and said, wow, you're doing this very well. This is so nice, so isn't it? He looked at me, turned around to me, and he says, what's your name? I said, wow, this has been well trained. He says, you're not just talking to me like that. You have to introduce yourself. And so then I told him, but he didn't tell me his name. I told him my name is Vijay. So he just started to do this and so on and so forth. So the non-trusting education has started. And by the time we grow up, we do not have a trust with anybody. We know people are out there and to a certain degree this is true. Now to reverse that and to understand a degree of trust that this is being well managed by someone is very difficult, but necessary and possible. We have to, doesn't mean that you just go around with your eyes closed in a dark alley and that's not what's being talked about. But the very basic sense of dealing with the world has to include Ishvara's presence. And so this is a very important thing. And it requires a lot of education, it requires a lot of practice. Pretty soon your reversal of non-trusting can be done. And then life becomes much more meaningful. So this is the reason for bringing the avatara analysis, which we've done. Now, we go back to the main topic of the verse number of chapter 4, which is an examination of sadhya. And there we saw, if you remember, I'm still revising from the previous class, that there are in fact two ways of looking at sadhya. Sadhya meaning what is to be established, my vision, my sense of freedom. There are two ways of doing that. One is Atma Vichara, my own thinking of who I am, my body, my thoughts, the various stages of my experience, as we were just discussing in Mandukya. The waking state, the dream state, all of those I have to examine. What constitutes me? And what is the essence of that constitution? All of that is called Atma Vichara. This is one method. The other method, and really speaking, you need to have a combination of two, but you can start with either of the places, is Ishvara Vichara. Ishvara Vichara. Generally speaking, in Vedanta, which is unique to our way of looking at, we do Atma Vichara. Atma Vichara. And which makes sense because even a concept of God for a human, for anyone, is secondary to myself, really. I don't know if there's a God or not. My way of looking at God is he useful to me? My fundamental problem is, how do I become happier? And then the second thing is, who can help me become happier? And if so, it becomes like a barter. So Vedanta is rational to say that start with an analysis of yourself. No doubt about it. But you can also get there with doing an analysis of God. And in fact, you should do both of them. So as we were saying in the last class also, that you can either do an analysis of the wave in the ocean, or you can do an analysis of the ocean itself. Both of them lead to the water. Both are important. But you can say, this I like this better. But you cannot complete the analysis without bringing in Ishvara. You can start it, but you cannot end it. So in this fourth chapter, the Ishvara Vichara is central. This is the methodology that the fourth chapter is following, is Ishvara Vichara, is the thinking about the macrocosmic aspect rather than the microcosmic. So there we saw, this is the last thing that I will revise from last week, and then we will do a new one, that there are some stages to Ishvara Vichara. Okay, right? So one is you gain a relative trust in your life to others. Don't look upon everybody else and saying they're inimical to me. Some special cases are there, be careful, that's okay. But in general, begin to have a trust in the world, because that is the body of Ishvara. That leads to the second stage, which is the saguna, the formful aspects of Ishvara. The one is world dependence, the second one is God dependence, and the third one is self-dependence. And the self-dependence will not come, which is called independence, will not come until you are convinced of the mithyatvam, of the mayikam, of the illusionary aspect of everything else, with vichara, with thinking. But anyway, those are the stages that one has to go through. Okay? So that's how we ended verse number 10 last time. So now let's go to new material. In verse number 11, he says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tatha eva bhajami aham mama vartma anuvartante manushyaha partha sarvashaha. So look at the overall English translation, and then we'll follow the word translation. He says, whoever approaches me with any desire, I bless them with that desire itself. O Arjuna, people follow my path by all means. So, Ye mam prapadyante, the one who approach me, yatha, in any manner, aham bhajami tan, I bless them, tatha eva, with that, the fulfillment of that desire. O Partha, manushyaha anuvartante mama vartma sarvashaha. So they really are dependent on my blessings to them without, they don't even know, but really speaking, I'm involved in all aspects of people's lives. Please see this. This is what he's saying. So here someone will say, you know, it's interesting, Swami Dayananji said that one time, or many times, not just one time, but I recall this one aspect with him. So there was a satsang going on, and somebody said, Swamiji, you know, I am interested in freedom, and I think I'm at the right path. And I find that many of my friends who I really like and love, they don't care about all of this stuff. I tell them this is an important stuff, you have to do it, and they think that Vedanta is not that important, so what do? This was the query that somebody says. So Swamiji says, no, don't try to approach should not be to say, you know, you're so stupid. You're just wasting your time, and come to the real stuff. There's some really stuff going on about how to analyze your lives and become happier and so on. Come with me. Just don't do that. Don't do that. Then what should be done? then you should simply say, so because somebody says, Vedanta is not that important for me. I'm doing okay. And so he says, don't end the conversation by saying either, fine, you do whatever you do, or to say you're being stupid, come into the class with me. Either one of the two extremes are bad. What you should do is to start with saying, no, Vedanta is not crucial. It's not that important, and so on. But keep the conversation going. How? Ask them, how's your job coming along? The person says, fine. Really, you are happy with it? Well, everything else is fine, but my boss and I don't get along very well. Anyway, so that leads to some issues. How about your family? Oh, family, there's a lot of problems with the family, and so on and so forth. Pretty soon you start to analyze. The family has problems. Job is a problem. Health, lots of problems with the health, and so on and so forth. You are fighting with lots of problems. Then you say, do you know it is impossible to solve all these problems one at a time? It is like taking the water out of the ocean one cup at a time. It's not going to empty it, not going to happen. Maybe you should look into another way of looking at it. This is what I am doing. And so here Krishna says exactly the same thing. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tatha eva bhajami aham. He says, just however the people approach me, that's how I bless them. If somebody says, I'm interested in making money, that's all. I don't want Vedanta or anything. I think this is the greatest thing. And they worship me with that objective. Then based on their eligibility and so on, I bless them. If they take my support for earning more money, and fine, that's fine. If somebody wants more pleasure, then we need to give them the appropriate, just like they do it. So he says what people don't realize it, that if there is a problem, it is because I have to deal with the fact that they don't deserve anything better. They are, and so in other words, my karma phala has no defect. No defect. Swami Paramarthananda had given this example. He says, any actions that we do has to go through an extremely giant computer. Huge computer in the clouds where all the data is continuously being fed about you and your actions, your background, your sincerity, your purpose. All of that is being fed. And some result is being given to you at the end of that, having come out with a processed data. None of the other people can do that. And in fact, this goes beyond one life. They are remnants of your action from the previous life. If they are very serious problems that you create, then you will have a miserable experience, because the remnants of that has not been, so for example, supposing somebody has a serial killer. You cannot punish a serial killer enough. It requires a lot of serial lives. The fellow has to suffer. So otherwise, there's no escaping from this. It is a huge. Hey, Swami Maheshanji had given a beautiful example. He said, it's interesting. He said, this thing that we call sanchita karma. So sanchita karma means our stored actions in the past. It's called sanchita, one which has been well established. He says, you cannot imagine how many karmas are stored in that storehouse under your account. He says, even if you were to go through one day, just one day, all the things that you do, some good, some not so good, some bad, some really bad, some very good, all kinds of things. And this is, you are continuously loading the basic computer of which has been given your account with karmas. And he says, you have no idea how many lives, how many days in the life, and how many lives, how many karmas are accumulated in your name. Unbelievable, almost infinite. And you cannot just remove it. In fact, his point was that if you do, in fact, so one of the things that is recommended for going to a temple or to chant your own Vedic mantras is what is called prayaschita karma. Prayaschita karma means these are remedial actions. Prayaschita means after the fact. It's called prayaschita. So like for example, supposing you overate and then you are in a big party and everybody was having fun and there's a lot of food and drinks and this, that or the other. You come home and you say, oh my God, I have overeaten. Sure enough, you have a stomachache, acidity, all kinds of things. You can take some anti-acid pills. And if you're hungover from over drinking, you can take some things to remove the hangover, mitigate the hangover. It's called prayaschita karma. So supposing you did, this is what we say, that really the most powerful prayaschita karma in our possession is the ability to say, I am sorry. Amazing. It must be all of our experiences. You can continue to fight if you like, but if you can short circuit it by saying, I am sorry, please forgive me, I shouldn't have done this. Amazing things happen. The anger melts, and it is called a prayaschita karma. So here, Swami Maheshananji was saying that from his experience, he can see a lot of people going to temples. In fact, you can do this. You can go to a local temple and say, I want to do a special puja. Say, what kind of puja do you want? I want to do prayaschita karma. I'm very sorry I did something bad and I want to really atone it by doing prayaschita karma. So there is actually some chanting and some puja, etc. that you can do. It's a powerful prayaschita karma. And they say that chanting Rudram is also one of the best prayaschita karma. Very good. And a lot of the mantras are prayaschita karma. But Swami Maheshananji says, please see this. Prayaschita karma or saying sorry is most effective if the karma that you do, bad karma that you do, is infrequent. Normally, for example, supposing you're having a fight with the spouse, and you have a pretty good relationship and so on. Once in a while, you get angry with the person. And you say things that you shouldn't say. Now it leads to a big brouhaha, this, that, or the other. But normally you do a good job, you so on and so forth. There, your saying, I am sorry, is effective. Is effective. But suppose you are a habitual offender. And you've done this in many things before. You say sorry, but you really don't mean it. You redo it again after a couple of days. How is going to do, I'm sorry, going to be effective? He says, be reasonable. So you cannot just go to the temple and said, I've murdered 47 people so far. Can I please do a powerful prayaschitta karma? And I'm willing to give $25,000 to the temple. No, nothing can be done. So Swami Maheswaranji was saying that you cannot deal, this is the point I was making, you cannot deal with sanchita karma through karmas. You cannot, there are infinite amount of karma in your account. And by the way, both good and bad. We always look upon this. This is an important point to see. See, so both punya and papa are constituents of your sanchita karma. And it appears that I should only avoid the papa karma and do a lot of punya karma. I should do a lot of good actions. No. Punya karmas need also to be avoided to a point. What? What are you talking about? This looks very strange. But you see the logic of it. Punya karma. So any karma that you do has to have an effect. Even a simple person like Newton said that for each action there is a reaction. It was interesting when I was a young student I had already graduated from college and from my engineering college. And so we were appearing at some UPSC. For those of you from India, you will see this. So UPSC exams for some important positions and so on. So we were all used to go there for that. I still remember this so well. So there's a written paper, and then there is an interview. And so there's 4 or 5 people, 3 people, I think. There was only 3 people sitting there. And you go there and they ask questions from you. And you're supposed to answer them. And so on. Here's a couple of questions. One was, some of the questions we were made aware of already. These are the type of questions they will ask. One question that they asked was, why are manholes round in shape? This was a very popular question, and we all knew that. And you have to also pretend. You cannot say because of this right away, because then they say, oh, he already knows it. You'll say, let me think about it. Oh, yes. So the answer to the round hole question is that if the manholes were not round, you would have accidents where you drop into the hole and it'll be very difficult to retrieve it. If it's a square one, you can have the manhole in a diagonal position and it falls into the hole. That doesn't happen in the round shape. You cannot accidentally drop a manhole cover into the manhole. This is one of them. Anyway, that was on the side. Then a question was asked of me. And I still remember this because It was an insult to me. One of the guys looked at the other one. He says, I think this is going to be too hard on him. Don't ask him this. He said that to me. And I was saying, what do you think I am? And it really was too hard for me. Turns out I didn't give the answer. The question was this. So this was an engineering question. There is a thing called coefficient of friction. So coefficient of friction means that when you move around one step to the one surface to the other, then there is a certain friction between them, and so they will keep it from each other. But if the coefficient of friction is 0, then there is no, almost like it's so slippery, there's no contact. So the question was with respect to that. He says, sir, supposing you find yourself in the middle of a completely frozen lake which has a coefficient of friction of 0. How are you going to, and you want to go to the surface, how will you come out without any external help? So the first thing is that you push yourself from one side, and you're sitting on some kind of a metal thing, and then the thing will go on the other side. No, because the coefficient of friction is 0, you cannot put your hand there, it'll slip. The answer is, if you're wearing some clothes, hopefully you are in the middle of a frozen lake, you have to be wearing clothes. You throw your jacket in one side, and the reaction will be coming on the other side. Your whole body will go in the other direction. That is the right answer. I didn't get it. So even Newton said that for every action there is a reaction. There's no way it will not be there. So Vedanta also confirms it by saying that really speaking, so the topic there was that what if I keep on accumulating punya karmas? I avoid papa karmas, and I keep on accumulating, wouldn't that be nice? No. Because all karmas have to have a result. The result of a punya karma is you get lost in enjoyments. You are given an enjoying experience, and you are completely lost in it. Family, pleasures, money, all those kinds of things. They are a result of punya karmas. Okay? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that is that all karma phalas are finite. What gives you, in fact, what Vedanta says, again the same thing of the basic physics of life, means that what starts must end. Acharya used to do that. He says that suppose the prisoners, cuffs. The other hand, people used to fight them. He says, you really know, will also be there. And if anuvartante do not, the right now, we realizes the Ch4 was there at any one time. And I don't need to deserve it. Rid of only see the famous at the oath of body. No way. Bhava. So with the discussion, so to doing that. So I'll close the class today. Purnat Purnama So, yes, sir. There is a very acceptable there is his commentary. It says or very if you don't recognize achara, they are something about so they found was sure and it gives you a you can the inquiry cannot just a kind like also what is understanding what was to that if you don't understand it's an important thing to do. And I think Ishvara Karma Yoga itself culminate and it's not a separate, particularly when it comes to Karma is complete, Mananam cannot. But if you're not ready for it, then we understand that. Continue working and